Hi everybody, welcome back to Knit1 Breathe 2. I'm Alyssa and I'm coming to you from London, Ontario, Canada. It is July 13th, 2020, and I'm doing this recording using a different device. So that's why it might look different and I probably will forget where the camera is. I'm also recording in a different location. So this is my new stitching corner up in our attic. You can see my sign that I've made behind me here. And yeah, this is my stitching corner with my stitching chair and my Ravelry stand. You can see the window is still not trimmed. The store that my husband wants to go to get the trim from, it is open, but you can only order from it. So you can't go there to look at the product. And he obviously wants to be able to look at the product before buying it all and installing it. So he's still waiting for it to open up a little bit more. So, hi, it's been a couple months. Yeah, it's been since mid-May. So a lot has happened since mid-May. School is done for the school year, and for those of you with children, or you know people who have children who have gone through the distance emergency online learning stuff, it was a bit of a challenge for most of us. So I'm thankful that it's over for myself in terms of teaching online. Um, Although it didn't go nearly as bad as it could have, I guess. I didn't mind it, but I did definitely miss being with my students and having those face-to-face interactions. You miss a lot um, of communication, really, when you're not with each other, right? So I'm happy in that sense because it was just challenging and things were changing weekly, daily. So there was a lot of stress there, but it turned out to be okay. Um, I'm glad that it's over for my children. They were certainly getting harder and harder to motivate at the end of, by the end of the school year. Especially my older son. Well, no, both of them. Both of them were getting hard to motivate near the end. So it's nice that we are now on summer break. Although not a normal summer break, right? Because we are not doing, going to the water slides and going to the beach and stuff like that. Now the pools have opened here just last week. So we've been there a couple times and they're doing all sorts of things in terms of how to keep everyone safe. So for example, you have to check in online when you get to the entrance. You have to check in and then you pay. You can't change in the change rooms. Like, you have to be ready in your bathing suit when you come, and then you go in, and they only have a maximum of 100 people, which sounds like a lot, but then when you're there, it's like, wow, there's actually a lot of space here, and makes me wonder how many people they usually allow in the pool before this time, because sometimes you go and you can't even move. There's so many people. So it's really nice actually to have the space. Yeah, so we've done that a couple times. Our COVID numbers here in London, Ontario are very low. We've had 0 cases for a few days running now. We haven't had a death since mid-June. So we're doing really well, but we're still continuing a lot of the safety practices, physical distancing, wearing masks. Our government hasn't made masks mandatory in London, even though in Ontario other parts in Ontario, it has been made mandatory because the numbers in those locations are higher. But I've started wearing a mask every time I go inside anywhere. Just, I don't know, just because. A lot of stores are making them mandatory to go in to the store. So I figure I might as well just do that anywhere I go now. It's no bother. We got some masks for my kids as well. So if I have to take them somewhere, because my husband's now back at work, he can still work from home sometimes, but sometimes he does have to go in, and that's just because of the way his work is. He has to go in sometimes to get data and work with people. Um, yeah, so I got my children, that was a long way of saying I got my children masks, and so that if I have to go somewhere with them, then they can wear masks as well. So I feel like they're protected and they're protecting the people around them in case they have anything, right? So yeah, so that's obviously been going on for everyone. It's certainly been normalized. Yeah. So that's been going on. Our puppy, Bo, he's doing really well. He's getting bigger. He's almost 5 months old now. He's certainly grown. I'll throw in a few pictures at the end of the podcast here so you can see him. I thought he might come up here during the podcast, but I think he's downstairs napping. Yeah, he's wonderful. He has brought some joy into our household. He's certainly encouraging us to get outside a lot more, to go on a lot more walks. He loves going on walks now. There was a time there where if we took him for a walk, he would just kind of lie down or sit down, and it was like trying to drag a boulder across the sidewalk, right? So for walks, when he was younger, he used to like sit down and lie down partway through, and it was like dragging a boulder along. But now he loves it. So now if we get the leash, he knows exactly what's happening. He gets all excited, and then he'll go for as long as we want, basically. So that's been refreshing. It's a lot nicer to go for walks now. And yeah, he's just a joy. He's a wonderful dog. He's very smart. We've started puppy training classes with him, so obedience training classes. And the woman who teaches it does teach agility to older dogs, so we may do that with him. Shelties are very good at agility, so we might do that. Depends. We'll see. What else? Oh, I have exciting news for my job. So, for those who kind of are not familiar with the Ontario system of education, and I think it's this way in other jurisdictions, but it might not be, but there's 3 levels of teachers in the public school system. So there are supply teachers, which are, the official name is occasional teacher. So you can think of those as substitute teachers. So you fill in for a teacher who's having a sick day or something like that for a day or two, or maybe even up to a couple weeks, but that's about it. So that's kind of the first tier, if you want to call it. Now, some people choose to do that as their job. I know a few people who do that because they might have another job, so it's very flexible, or they have really good contacts with a few schools and are able to make a full-time job out of it. So that's kind of the first level, I guess, of it. And then the second level is long-term occasional teaching. So that's more than 2 weeks, but up to a full school year. And so I was doing that for basically the whole time since I've been teaching. I've certainly been doing some occasional work, so supplying, but since I've started teaching, I've had long-term occasional positions for the most part. There's been some times in there where I kind of just decided to do occasional work. So then the next step is permanent. So you become a permanent teacher, so the job is yours for ever kind of thing. Not, I mean, there's some situations where that doesn't work out. If there's budget cuts and jobs need to be cut, that you're, you know, if you're a lone man on the totem pole, you could be out. But yeah, you're kind of, you have a home school, and then you teach there, and it's permanent. It's not just a year. It's, you have that same job each year. So I have a permanent job now, and full time in the high school system means you teach 3 courses per semester. Because in the high school system here in Ontario, a day consists of 4 periods. And a full-time teacher teaches 3 of those 4 periods, and then the 4th period is their prep period. I, at this point in my life, do not want to teach full-time, so I teach 2/3. So instead of having 3 classes and 1 prep, I teach 2 classes and have 1 prep. So I have 3 permanent lines, so I have 2 permanent lines for the first semester and then 1 permanent line for the second semester, and then I have an LTO line, a long-term occasional line or class for the second semester. So I'll be teaching 2 classes first semester and second semester, if that makes sense. And it's a mix of general science, physics, and math, which is perfect. So yeah. So that's very exciting. It's like a load off my shoulders to kind of, yeah, I don't have to do job interviews every semester. And yeah, it's just even having a place to put my stuff, which is even crazy for me to think about. So, and being able to teach the same kids from year to year, I mean, it'll be a really different but exciting experience. And the school where I will be permanent is the school where I did my first practicum placement when I was in Teachers College. And I loved the school when I was there. I just never thought that I would be able to get back there. They normally don't have a lot of postings at that school, and they just so happen to have one for science and physics. And I got it. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm very, very excited. So yeah, that's a lot of chatting. I don't even know how long I've been talking for. I've been talking for 13 minutes already, and we haven't even talked stuff. Crafty stuff. What is this? What is this channel called? Knit1 Breeze 2. Okay, let's get into crafty stuff already. Like, enough of this chatter. Sorry. A lot of stuff happens in 2 months. That's why you're reading 2 months to podcast. Then I talk a lot at the beginning about what has happened in life. And so much else obviously has happened in the world since then. Okay, so FOs. So look what I'm wearing. I am done and wearing my Tegna. Let's see if I can stand out and you can see it. Yeah, it's done. It took, as you guys know, if you've been watching me for a while, it took about a year for me to do it. I end up not putting sleeves on, so this is the where the sleeves were supposed to join. But I really like just the little cap sleeves, especially for summer. I thought it was perfect, so I didn't even bother picking up stitches to do the sleeves. And mostly because I hate picking up stitches. I did pick up stitches for the collar, and it's like this little rolled edge collar, which is nice. I like that. It's very simple, but it fits really nice, and I really, really just love the lace detail at the bottom. Yeah, I really like it. This yarn, I used Holst yarn in the Coast base, and this color is saffron. If you want all the details, you can check out my Ravelry page. I'm under Planetologist. I didn't love working with this yarn. It was really scratchy. It's very fine, so you have to knit way more stitches to get gauge. and it blooms a bit, but not as much as I thought it was going to. Like, it's fine. I think, I'm not even wearing a tank top or anything underneath it. But I'm not sure if I would use this yarn again. It does drape nicely though once it's washed and blocked. I don't know. I haven't made a top, like a summer top, out of other yarn, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. I didn't love working with it though. It is a bit scratchy on the skin, but I think as it's washed more, it will become less so. So if you are very sensitive to like rusticy yarn, this may not be the best choice for you, or you might have to wear like a camisole or something underneath it. But yeah, I'm really glad that it's done. It wasn't my favorite project, as many of you know who have been watching my progress on it, but I'm glad that it's done and it looks good now. So yeah, so that's that. And then the other thing I finished is my Shades of Orange cross stitch. Now it's done, it's framed, it's up on my wall in the stairwell downstairs. So what I'll do, instead of bringing it here and trying to show you and it being a little awkward, is I took a little video of it and I'll put that in here. Okay, I wanted to show you my Shades of Orange. All done, all framed and hanging on our wall. It is a bit tough to get a decent head-on picture of it because you can see it's in a stairwell. So there's the one wall and there's the other. And so I can't get far enough away from it to get it all in one picture. So that's why I wanted to start from the beginning. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. It's beautiful. The framers did a beautiful job. There are a few mistakes in it. I told my kids about a couple of them, but I told them they have to find the other ones. Just a couple of things I added here. I put my initials in the top right corner, and then down at the bottom here, I put a little tiny 2020. So yeah, there's my shades of orange, all done, all framed, and I love it. Yeah, I loved working on that. It took me a little less than 2 years to do it. Obviously, it wasn't the only thing I was working on, so yeah, it took me a couple of years. It definitely was slower at the beginning because it really was my first really large project, a cross stitch project. So it took me a while to kind of get into the rhythm of it, and so I think the second half of it only took me a few months, whereas the first half of it took me over a year, kind of thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed doing it. I love it, and it looks great on my wall, so I'm very happy with that. So those are my finishes. I did finish a dishcloth, but I'm not going to show you that. I don't know the yarn because I just got it from like a binge sale, and yeah, it's a dishcloth. So whips, I have started a couple new knitting projects, and I've started one new cross stitch project, and I've gone back to a cross stitch project that I had been working on before. So let's do knitting first. So the first one I'll show you, this is in a bag by Sugar Tots. This is one of the first bags that I bought. Some Matryoshka dolls. Love it. Yeah, this is Hitchhiker. So Susanna, one of my wonderful viewers, and she comments regularly on the podcast, and I think, Susanna, you've been with me since the beginning, which is wonderful, thank you. Last time I was talking about how I wanted to do the hitchhiker, so she got on Ravelry and was like, I'm not going to give her any more excuses to not do it, so she sent me not just the one pattern, but all 4 patterns, so I could choose which one I wanted and finally get it going. So I did choose the original one, the original hitchhiker, because that's the one that caught my eye right from the beginning. It's a lot easier pattern than I thought it was going to be. So it's kind of, if you haven't seen it before, it's like a long triangle with a, I'm so not used to this camera, I'm sorry. It goes the other way. With kind of all these points on the, oh my gosh, these points on the edge here. Um, yeah, and it's like a one skein fingering weight shawl or shawlette. It's like a scarf because it's quite narrow. And I decided to use this yarn. This is what's left so far. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, there we go. It looks darker than it is in the ball there. This is from Totally Inked Yarn, and I don't think that they are dyeing anymore, but this is called Tell Me a Secret. Nice, eh? So yeah, so I'll show you how much I have done. I'm about halfway. You're supposed to get 42 of those points, and I think I have 20 or 21. I might almost be exactly halfway. So here it is. Da, 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 da. It's, the lighting in here isn't showing. It's more green than it looks in this lighting. Like more greens and blues. Yeah, it's a really nice, easy knit. It's all just knitting and then purling. And then every 8 rows you do something so you can make these little points. Yeah. And I think what I'll do is instead of just going to the 42 is I'll just go until I'm out of yarn, which will be nice. Yeah, I got this yarn at a knitting retreat where all of us ladies, we brought a skein of yarn from our stash, and then the last day we put them all on the table and then we drew names, and the first person got to pick their first choice and the second person got to pick then that kind of thing. So I got that one and I really like it, and it's, yeah, it's a fun project, nice and easy. My second project, you guys are going to be floored. For those of you who have been watching a long time, first of all, this is my one of my ever tote bags, and I have my little loving path. Where's the camera? My loving path pin. Can't think. I have started my husband's scarf. So those of you who have been watching a really, really long time, my husband has asked for a scarf, but vertical stripes. So stripes the long way, not horizontal stripes. So this is what I have so far. It's in his favorite black, white, gray, and then a little pop of red in it. All the ends are because in case he wants to have fringe. And the pattern, oh, let me tell you the pattern I'm using. It's by Arne and Carlos. Or is it Arne? Arne and Carlos. And it is called Styan, or Styan. Sorry it's not in color, but you get the idea there. It's quite long, which is what he wants, and it does call for lace weight held double, so I'm just using fingering weight. I've had to modify the pattern quite a bit because I thought the pattern wasn't really matching what it was on here. So I'm just kind of basing what I'm doing off of the picture. Um, yeah, so what yarn am I using? I'm basically using a mix of knit picks and some other fingering yarn that I got, like wool-like or something. I don't even have the tags. Yeah, so and I'm not sure which ones are which because all the tags are gone. But they're just fingering um, solid colors. So I have white, this kind of burgundy color, gray, and black. Some are knit picks, some are, I believe it's wool-like. I don't even know what it's called, but you can get it from Michael's, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's going okay. It uses Intarza for the color change, which is kind of a pain because it's not the biggest block of color, but I think once the ends are woven in, it'll look good. And it's really, really long. It's over 300 stitches per row, but it's just knitting. So it's really, really easy to do while I'm listening to a podcast or watching TV or something. So yeah, I hope to have that done by the winter. Yeah, so I have some time because it's still only mid-July, so it doesn't get cold enough here for a scarf until, end of October, beginning of November, so I should have plenty of time to finish that up. So you can see the two projects I have on the go are very simple knitting, which is kind of what I wanted after I finished this and a pair of socks. So I think what I'll do is once I finish one of those, I'll probably cast on a sweater. I wanted to do the Mountain Mist sweater by Tin Can Knits, and I do have the yarn for that, so I think that'll be my next project probably. So that's my knitting whips, cross stitch whips. So once I finished the shades of orange, I wanted to start working on something that I had already going. What is happening here? This is my moonlit cabin. Let me put something behind it here. You can see it. Ooh, it's hard to get it. Wow, I am really terrible with this camera because it moves backwards. Okay, anyway. Moonlit cabin. So before I started again, I had just done the cabin, and now I've started all this stuff down here. So it will become looking like snow and reflection in the snow, and there's a river and stuff. One of the issues with this one, why I didn't want to pick it up, was because of the way the floss was organized. They were just in these two bundles of all these colors, and I couldn't figure out which blue was supposed to be blue. So what I did is I went through both bundles and I separated all the floss into their colors, and then I went through the pattern and figured out which color was which color, because the oranges you would have thought maybe would have been in one bundle, but no, there were in two bundles, and it was like light orange, yellow orange, and orange. So it was difficult to figure out which one was which when they were in two different bundles. So once I got them, I kind of just figured out, okay, which one had to be which color. So now I've labeled them all on this, and this is just like an oatmeal box. Just so that it's organized and it's really easy for me to find the colors, because in this kit some of the stitches are two different colors held together, so it makes it easier to find what colors I need. So that's a great way to organize your thread. It might not be pretty, but it certainly takes away that barrier to start, right? And just so you know, this is the pattern. This is what it's gonna look like in the end. It's a little 5x7. It's on navy fabric, so it's a little harder to stitch on, but I don't know, it's fine. I have to admit, I don't love full coverage pieces. So full coverage means there's stitches right next to each other for the full thing. And this is full coverage, even though some of the stitches are half stitches. Like the yellow ones here, you can just see they're not X's, they're half stitches. But the whole thing's covered, and I find it really finicky to do. And I gotta say, doing black stitches on a navy fabric is a little ridiculous. But it'll look pretty when it's done, so it's like this kind of thing, right? But I don't find it all that enjoyable to do, so I find myself gravitating way more toward projects that might be bigger but have negative space, so space where there aren't any stitches. So that brings me to my new start in cross stitch. So back in the fall, I bought myself 4 patterns, and there's one for each season. This is the one that I started. It's from a company called Owl Forest Embroidery, and they are based out of Russia, so you can see their stuff is in Russian. So if you look closely, it has pumpkins and stuff like this. So this is their autumn one. It's called Bounteous Autumn if you look at the English translation. And I actually did an opening of those patterns at one point in one of my podcasts, so you can see what the patterns look like and the floss and the way that they did it. But I just want to show you the progress. I'll take the pattern off of here. Because they do this really cool thing where they give you the full pattern, and then they give you, I'll show the back of it, little pieces of each section of the pattern, so you can cut each section and have that on your frame, so you don't have to have the huge pattern with you. You can just have each section while you're working on it. So here's the section I've been working on. Isn't it beautiful? This floss is gorgeous. That's a variegated floss from DMC. So we got some greens in the leaves and then some cranberries, I guess, here. And there's going to be some berries that are going here. Then there's going to be another one of these over here. And then that corner is going to be done. Yeah, I love it. It's beautiful already. This fabric is a 28 count linen. It's very lovely. It came in the kit. It's gorgeous. I love it. And yeah, the floss colors are all beautiful. And that little squirrel needle minder came in the kit. So every kit that I have 4 different seasons. There will be a seasonal needle minder, sorry, to go with it. So I was just wondering what that floss was, because I think I finished the color. Okay, so those are all my works in progress. Acquisition, I don't have any, except for the hitchhiker pattern that Susanna gave me. Thank you, Susanna. I really, really appreciate that. I'm really enjoying it. So thank you for pushing me to finally cast that on. Yeah, I think that's all I have for today. Yeah, so for the Breathe 2 section, one thing that I've been realizing since school has ended is me learning stuff is making me feel better about things. I don't I don't really know how to say that in a way that sounds like amazing and amazing advice like I'm, you know. But I've been, because of what happened with George Floyd in the United States, and now the what's been going on after that with the protests and the marches and all the information that's going around about how, as a white person, to become an anti-racist, not just a non-racist. So I've been doing a lot of work on that, and um, one of the things I'm doing is working through the book Me and White Supremacy, and I'm also listening to a lot of Brene Brown podcasts, and I'm finding I kind of thought when I first started that I would be really stressed about it. Just learning about things in general, because my career is to teach people. So I kind of get burnt out about with teaching, right, for 10 months in a row. And then, so when summer break comes, I'm like, oh, the last thing I want to do is learn something. But I'm realizing now, after I've been working through some of these podcasts and books, is learning is such a different experience than teaching. And learning is very refreshing. Not that I don't learn throughout the school year, but it's not on purpose. I'm sorry, this is really, I'm not saying this very well, but oh well. I've been finding that learning new things has really helped me with my mental health. And I'm surprised by that because I thought I would find learning stressful because I spend my career teaching people and therefore kind of learning on the fly, right? But this act of conscious learning, and putting, specific time into it is really helping my mental health. I don't know. I'm just sharing that with you, just as a time point for myself, I guess, as something to think about for myself and as something in the future, for when I feel stressed out or scared to, or anxious, I should say, not scared, but anxious about learning something new, to think about it, how it actually helps me. I don't know. That was really weird. You could, if you just went over that part, that's fine. Anyway, I think that's it for me this time. I've hoped you have gotten a lot of crafting goodness in the last couple of months. Please let me know in the comments how you're doing. I always love to hear your updates, what kind of things you're working on, what kinds of things you've been doing in your life. So please update me, let me know how you're doing. So before I see you next time, which will hopefully be sooner than later, I hope you get lots of crafting in. But don't forget to breathe too. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.